Folks, devastation all across the country in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene that has impacted folks from Florida to South Carolina, Georgia, North Carolina, and western North Carolina. Massive flooding has taken place in places like Asheville, where roads have been washed out. Folks have been in need of food and water, and there's been, of course, lots of search and rescue efforts underway. More than 100 people have died in the various states as a result of the hurricane. Vice President Kamala Harris was on a campaign swing on the West Coast. She cut that short to fly back to Washington, D.C. Today, she addressed the workers at the Federal Emergency Management Agency, also known as FEMA.
I have received regular briefings on the impact of Hurricane Helene, including from Administrator Criswell. And over the past 24 hours, I have spoken with Governor Kemp of Georgia, Governor Cooper of North Carolina, and many local officials. I have shared with them that we will do everything in our power to help communities respond and recover. And I've shared with them that I plan to be on the ground as soon as possible, but as soon as possible without disrupting any emergency response operations, because that must be the highest priority in the first order of business. The devastation from Hurricane Helene is immense. Millions of Americans are without power. Thousands of families have lost their homes. Entire neighborhoods have been destroyed. Major roads have been blocked or damaged, leaving entire towns inaccessible at this very moment. Already, nearly 100 people have been confirmed dead, and hundreds more are missing. The destruction we have seen in Alabama, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Virginia is heartbreaking. In coordination with state and local officials, President Biden and I will continue to make sure that communities have the support and the resources that they need, not only to respond to this storm and its immediate aftermath, but also the resources they will need to recover. So far, more than 3,300 federal personnel are on the ground to assist with recovery efforts. They are deploying food, water, and generators. And we continue to work with teams on the ground to restore water and power as quickly as possible. To everyone who has been impacted by this storm, and to all of those of you who are rightly feeling overwhelmed by the destruction and the loss, our nation is with you. And President Biden and I, and all of the folks behind me, are with you.
President Joe Biden announced he's going to travel to North Carolina on Wednesday to survey the damage. Now, let me go ahead and say this right now. There have been a number of right-wing idiots who have been posting and tweeting, talking about how the government, how Biden, Harris, they've left people just in disarray. They've left them stranded. That's an absolute lie. First of all, the states that actually, let me explain y'all how things work. First of all, a governor has to ask for emergency assistance first. Then the president declares a federal emergency declaration. That's how it works. He can't just do it on his own. There has to actually be a request for that declaration. That's first. But the second thing is, it's stupid for people to be asking, why isn't Harris and Biden in North Carolina and Georgia? Well, because idiots, when the president and the vice president comes in, literally, security is shifted to protecting them. That means that you no longer about search and rescue. You no longer are about helping the people who are in need. So it's actually wise for the president or the vice president not to go into a place in the first 48 to 72 hours because they need to get the situation on the ground handled first. That's just a fact. And so all of these idiots who are out here complaining and, oh my God, and I don't understand, why are they not doing this? That is idiotic. So please stop. And stop lying on social media. All of these right-wing nutcases, that's all they do is lie. They lie. Oh, we're not taking care of American citizens. We're taking care of the Ukrainians. More lies, More lies, more lies, more lies. And so it just gets nauseating to listen to these whiners when that's all they ever do is just whine and complain, whine and complain, whine and complain. So they really do get on my nerves, frankly, by the consequence. So just understand there's a reason why the president and the vice president doesn't go in the way a lot of people would like for them to do, because, again, it's a safety issue, and you want the focus to be on search and rescue first. That's what you want, and that's the way it should be. But unfortunately, you got too many other people who are too dumb to understand that, okay? Now, there are a lot of ways you can actually support. And I've had some people hit me and they say, hey, how do we know what's legitimate? How do we know what's real? And so I reached out to folks there in North Carolina. And so you can help with it's called the North Carolina Disaster Relief Fund. Okay, you can donate online. This is from Governor Roy Cooper's office. Come on, let's go. You can donate at nc.gov/donate. This is the North Carolina Disaster Relief Fund. Again, you can donate online at nc.gov/donate, DONATV. All right, folks, I want to go to my panel on this one because, again, I just get tired of listening to these people who all they do is just whine, complain, whine, complain, whine, complain. But the whole goal is, of course, they're trying to take shots at President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. Dr. Julian Malveaux, economist, President Emerita at Bennett College, also an author out of D.C. Dr. Amakongo Debinga, senior professorial lecturer, School of International Service, American University. Candace Kelly, legal analyst and host, Not All Hood, South Orange, New Jersey. Glad to have all three of you here. Julian, it's very simple. Again, when you have natural disasters, look, I'm born and raised in Houston. I've lived through multiple hurricanes. And when you're in the aftermath, those first 48, 72 hours, the last thing you need is a damn president coming in taking up resources, taking away law enforcement, closing off roads, shutting down airspace, all of that. The focus is how do you stabilize the community to get food supplies in, have the National Guard, law enforcement do their job, and then after 4 or 5 days, then elected officials like the president can come in and survey the damage. But it's just dumb for these people, all of the whining and complaining they're actually doing. Vice President Biden, Vice President Harris does not need to be in any of these states. Trump runs his punk ass down to Georgia, I'm bringing supplies and gas and everything. Dude, whatever the hell, the hardest hit areas, that's the last thing they need is to see a president.
Roland, you're absolutely right. This is hilarious that these folks are just talking about them neglecting. There's parts of North Carolina they couldn't get to if they wanted to, because like Asheville, North Carolina, which weird to me that in the mountains, nowhere near sea, but they're now, totally cut off. How would they get there if they wanted to? In other places, the orange man said he went to Georgia and brought supplies. Guess what? Any supplies he brought, he used up 10 times as many. The fact is that the roads are compromised in many places. Housing is devastated. You lost whole towns. You said that they're dumb. I would have other words, but we can't use them on television. But the inanity, the absolute inanity of suggesting that the president or vice president or both should be down there is just, it's very short-sighted. But the people that you got these trolls. Praise the Lord, I don't have them. But you have these trolls, and they keep saying stupid stuff. But as you said, their bottom line is they want to attack Biden-Harris, and especially now that she is, of course, the nominee, they want to attack Vice President Harris. And whatever. But here's the fact. As she said at FEMA, every time there is a disaster, the federal government is there. FEMA is there. I know people who work at FEMA. Some of them have been dispatched to here or there. They're away from their families. They're working very hard. They're trying to get resources there. The Republican approach, and let's just call it that, the Republican approach is to criticize, whine, and to do nothing positive. And so, you've got it absolutely right. It's dumb, but it's beyond dumb. It is. Ignorant.
Here's the deal, Amakongo. Again, there was a great scene. It was from The West Wing. It was a great scene from The West Wing, and I really love that scene where President Bartlett, he goes to his place, and he really was just torn apart by it. And they literally were like, "Dude, you need to come back to D.C. because you're actually in the way." Mm-hmm. Down there, they're trying to get the town back in order. You are sucking up resources because the goal is to keep you safe. It's actually better for you to get your butt back to D.C. so the people down there can do their work. It's the same thing. Again, so Biden going down, hurricane hits late last week, okay? Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, rough days there. He's going to do a flyover North Carolina on Wednesday. That's the way it's supposed to be. You don't go down there in the first 48, 72 hours.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is not only silly season as it relates to the Republicans. It's just another opportunity for them to flat out lie. Trump mentioned that, Vice President Harris didn't meet. Well, he doesn't call her Vice President Harris, but, said that she didn't talk to Kemp and Biden didn't talk to Kemp, governor of Georgia. That was a lie. Saying that they're not doing anything. That was a lie. From the beginning, they've been talking about everything they're going to do. You haven't heard anything from Ron DeSantis complaining about anything that's going on down there, right? And none of these other governors have as well. And all of these governors, Cooper, like all of these different governors have said, a few days ago is not the time. Biden's coming Wednesday. But if people are going to continue to only look at Trump and his ecosphere and look at them as the people who are going to be the carriers of the message of what's supposed to be happening, remember Trump in the Puerto Rico and the throwing paper towels and all of that other type of stuff? If he was there right now, what would he be doing as president? Yeah, he went to this furniture store, but if he was president, he would bring that entire infrastructure and make it all about himself. Even today, he said it wasn't going to be about politics, but made it about politics as well. So what we see with Harris and Biden is that they're demonstrating dignity. They're demonstrating that they care for humanity, and they're demonstrating that they care for making sure that everybody's able to either be safe, get safe, and make sure they don't interfere with any search efforts of people who could still be alive right now. And so for people who want to politicize this of all things right now, they are showing that they have no humanity whatsoever. We should all be like you were doing in the beginning of the segment, Roland, designating places for resources, dedicating, giving up places where we have donations, people can get help, clothing and food and all of those other types of things. But this is showing, let's also remember, Roland, that just last week, people were talking about Trump. What did he want to do? Shut the government down. The same government that's responsible for giving the services that are needed for all of these communities right now, which is also a goal of Project 2025. So imagine with Trump and Project 2025 in power, what would be happening right now would be like night and day for all of the people suffering right now.
See, it's always interesting, Candace, when you see how people respond to certain things. And then I love these people who are saying, well, I remember they were blaming Bush. Yeah, they were blaming Bush for Hurricane Katrina because the FEMA executive he sent down was completely inept, was totally inept. And it was an inept response. And then this whole deal, Biden, there was a clip, I need to find the clip, one of the reporters, Mr. President, why didn't you come back to D.C.? He's like, I was on the phone with him yesterday. I was on the phone with him today. He said, the thing is called the phone. You could communicate. It was just one of those dumb questions. And so it's always stupid to me when media asks those questions. Why didn't you come back? First of all, wherever the president and the vice president is, that's where the whole world is. Like, there's a thing called communication. There's secure line communication, video and audio. So this idea that you can only deal with crises from the White House is just stupid to me.
Yeah, I think one of the bigger pictures to look at here, too, is that you see the vice president stepping up in a very presidential disposition. This is really something that we know the president would be doing. But it's great to have her out there for someone who people are complaining about. We don't know her plan. We don't know her details. They're saying, don't worry about that. We're just going to put her in that presidential role. And I think that is what is making people feel very uncomfortable in terms of those who don't want to see her get into the seat of the president. And that's the major problem here. They're politicizing this because they aren't winning in that political football, the football game. That ball is really fumbling. Here she is acting presidential, being presidential. For all practical purposes, she is the president right now in terms of the roles that she can carry out, how she can communicate with rescue missions, the power that she has. Trump can talk about it, and he can go down there on his own if he wants to, but he can't do what she can do. Not only is she trying out for a role, but she is actually acting in the role. He does not have that advantage, and that is what people are having a problem with, and that is why I think it's being politicized.
So here was the comment that Biden made when the reporter asked him that stupid question. Y'all got it ready? Pull it up. They were at the White House, and Biden had finished speaking, and then he shot back with this. I thought it was pretty funny. Go ahead.
I'm committed to traveling to the impacted areas as soon as possible, but I've been told that it would be disruptive if I did it right now. We will not do that at the risk of diverting or delaying any of the response assets needed to deal with this crisis.
On the hurricane, Mr. President, why weren't you and Vice President Harris here in Washington commanding this weekend?
I was commanding. I was on the phone for at least 2 hours yesterday and the day before as well. I command. It's called a telephone. Is it all my security people?
It's called telephone. I mean, to me, it ain't that hard. So, again, folks, again, a lot of work being done. Federal government is sending in resources. The states are mobilized as well, trying to help people out. It is catastrophic. But all these MAGA people who are whining and complaining, which I should be asking, what about all those Republicans who voted to shut the government down just a couple of days before? Oh, they're now asking for federal assistance. Boy, ain't it amazing how y'all are real quick to criticize the federal government? Ooh, but then you got your hands out when there's a disaster. Always happens that way.
In 2016, Donald Trump said he would choose only the best people to work in his White House. Now those people have a warning for America. Trump is not fit to be president again. Here's his vice president.
Anyone who puts themselves over the Constitution should never be president of the United States. It should come as no surprise that I will not be endorsing Donald Trump this year.
His defense secretary.
Do you think Trump can be trusted with the nation's secrets ever again?
No. I mean, it's just irresponsible action that places our service members at risk, places our nation's security at risk.
His national security advisor.
Donald Trump will cause a lot of damage. The only thing he cares about is Donald Trump.
And the nation's highest-ranking military officer.
We don't take an oath to a king or a queen or to a tyrant or a dictator. And we don't take an oath to a wannabe dictator.
Take it from the people who knew him best. Donald Trump is a danger to our troops and our democracy. We can't let him lead our country again.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.